Bitcoin greetings. Welcome to another video. Been a week into my Virginia vacation. Came here with uh, my aunt and her son, my cousin, to visit and stay with another cousin. So we're in her lovely home. I did a video earlier. I didn't post the video. Uh, but we're having a great time here. My cousin is just so gracious. Shout out to my cousin Chandra, uh, known as Jeannie. Um, we wanted to begin seeing if we could go a little further back with our family records. And the plan was to go to North Carolina, because where my cousin lives is not too far from uh, the vital records places in North Carolina, Elizabeth City. But while here, I got to visit Pascatonk uh, River. And what is special about that visit is that I am pretty certain that my ancestors were Pascatonk Indians. Pascatonk Algonquin linguistic uh, group Indians. And so visiting the river was very special. It's a big river, but it's just a picturesque area in Elizabeth City. It is just, I just had to touch the water, and I did. And so this is the reason for the trip here. We did go to the historical museum in Elizabeth City, and were given, great contact to speak with people who could, you know, possibly assist with the genealogy search. Uh, and hopefully we will also be, making another stop in Elizabeth City. So I just feel the need to constantly reiterate the this denouncing that the Pope made, excuse me, of the Doctrine of Discovery. And so in aftermath of this denunciation of the Doctrine of Discovery, what should occur is the return of the Indians' indigenous homelands, right? So that is why I feel a need to voice that. You have to speak it, right? So it's just one of those little friendly public service reminders again that everything that was done under the Doctrine of Discovery has been denounced officially. This is an official word from head guy. the Pope. He's denouncing everything the Catholic Church did under the auspices of the Doctrine of Discovery. So, a reminder to Indians, we have some reclaiming to do. And that it is based on the fact that the Pope has denounced the Doctrine of Discovery. So everything that was stolen has to be returned. Identities that were hidden need to be revealed. Uh, Again, this is just like a little reminder. What will happen is the Pope will make this denunciation, and I guess the idea is if we don't jump on it and speak to what the ramifications of that denunciation or denunciation is, we don't move forward in our awakening. It is a great thing that this man denounced the Doctrine of Discovery. Uh, we need to begin to perhaps list how we've been affected by the Doctrine of Discovery, and to include the definition of who was found here according to the 1828 Noah Webster's Dictionary. What was the description of the Indians that the Europeans found here, who, under the Doctrine of Discovery, they were no longer being called American because it is now given to Europeans born in America. They will be called Americans. This is clearly a result of the Doctrine of Discovery, right? Because you were heathen, and the Catholic Church at that time, felt that they will wipe you out of history, basically. It's hard to it's hard to fathom that a church would come to a land where the people had never seen them before, and these people would be called heathen. They don't even know you. You're coming to their land saying they got it all wrong, and therefore we have to take you out. We have to remove you. You're a big sinner, and this lovely land you have belongs to us now, basically, because according to us, you are not following the God that we follow, right? And our God, because of your shortcoming, which was not worshiping a God you never knew, you have to lose your land, and you will be treated as if you're demon possessed, basically, right? Uh, if you're not worshiping the right God, according to the Catholic Church at that time, then you are basically demon driven. So therefore, all this wealthy land that the devil gave you has to revert to the Catholic Church. And when you start to worship the Catholic Church as God, now all the wealth you had with the demons, you no longer have because you're a slave father. Someone else has been given your nationality of American, Europeans. And there is no time limit to your suffering. You were heathen, and although we will convert you quite forcibly, you will still never get your land back. Well, until the Pope has denounced the Doctrine of Discovery. Now, you've been Christians now since Columbus, basically, right? The Pope has only in the last, was it this year? I think it was this year, 2023. This how long it took your conversion to see some kind of results. But still, if you don't claim that denunciation, you will still be in the position you were in during your colonization, which is you are still thought to be African. So therefore, this land is not yours. You were not only heathen, you were African as well. That's part of, I guess, punishment. You get associated with a third world country when your resources would make you a first world country, which is odd because why would God favor you with such great natural resources if you were these heathen? And so I guess it would stand to reason that your punishment is that you get taken off this very bountiful, fruitful land. And part of, maybe they might say part of your punishment is now your birthright, as Europeans take your nationality and are now called American, according to the 1828 Webster's dictionary. What's going to happen to the copper colored aboriginals found here per that definition in 1828 Webster's? You're now going to be called African because that is more fitting for heathen. Okay. So it's trading places. We want your heathen land with all the resources. And we're going to start off calling you colored. Remember, the 1828 dictionary says copper colored. People were found here by Europeans, found here, meaning they were here before Europeans and before Mongolians, before anybody. That's why we're described as copper colored. Look, the image you see right now is copper colored, copper colored. So I'm now called colored, right? Because I used to be copper colored. Do you get that? I don't think that distinction is often made, but I like to make it because it's a common sense thing. When you found me, I was copper colored, but because I'm a heathen, the copper color gets knocked off, so I'm no longer associated with America. I'm just colored. From colored, I'm then made into a Negro. And from Negro, I am then called Black. Mind you, this whole time, most of our people are Christians, but you're not good enough. Why? Because you still don't get your land back. And other people are being called American while you're being going through the merry-go-round of misnomers. Colored derives from copper colored. Colored derives from copper colored. The copper colored that are mentioned in the 1828 definition of American. An American was a copper-colored aboriginal found here by Europeans. But now that nationality is applied to Europeans born in America. We're being supplanted by Europeans, Negro Europeans, but then it would eventually trickle to Caucasian Europeans who will then be called white. In, conjunction with you now being called Black. So you went from colored to Negro to Black. By the time you're Black, now Caucasian Americans are being called white, basically. And civil rights and civil laws are created because they don't want you to have constitutional rights, right? Constitution, the first Constitution, deals with the land and men and women of the land, okay? So that Constitution doesn't apply when you are given by Congress privileges and benefits. So your unalienable rights, which cannot be taken away, are turned into civil rights, which can be taken away. The example I love to give is the voting rights in Georgia. Need I say more? Weren't you as shocked as I was when you realized that voting rights are not permanent? They have to be re-granted by Congress, meaning they are not permanent. They are not unalienable. They are alienable. That's what you get when you're not under constitutional law. You have to recontract to get your privileges and benefits. And Congress has to agree to that. So they are making your rights up as we go along, where unalienable rights are set as if they were set in stone because they are seen as God-given. Yes, we're going to always drum these points. I watch indigenous YouTube videos, and a lot of our indigenous are saying that they taught this years ago. But clearly, many of us still have not learned. My thought is this has to be talked about every day from now on until we get it. So kudos to the Indians who taught this years ago. Unfortunately, the awakening is now. wasn't years ago. It's now. Now's the time. The timing was off. Something, my personal belief, is something with that Saturn-Jupiter conjunction has now made us more ready to receive, but we have to keep teaching it because this is new information and we are still very much being misled by the corporation that is owned by the Vatican. And the Vatican has denounced what any colonizing corporations have done. That means we better get our land back. Those who get that, start getting your land back. The rest of our people will have to see to believe. But those of you who understand that the Doctrine of Discovery gives you a new right as an American Indian, reclassified as a colored, then Negro, then Black, and finally African American. They little by little they take you off the land. That's another telltale sign of what the goal always was. You weren't called African, right? In the beginning. Why? Because you were not African when they started making up these out of Africa stories. So you were copper colored. And then you were made colored according to what they called us in the Noah Webster's 1828 dictionary. We were copper colored. Now, once we get what is owed us, what is our birthright, we will then throw away all of these misnomers and start to take dominion by using our own wording and describing who we are from our mouth, from our languages. Hopefully, English will become a secondary language. The future that the ancestors showed me or spoke to me is that once our government is up and running, our people will have a place. They will have a government to go to. So they will leave the federal corporation because they were never supposed to be part of it. I thought for a minute, and I think you saw me in the video saying, perhaps we should go into the corporation and work from the inside out. I no longer think that that is what we should do because we were never ever supposed to be part of it in the first place. That's why we were Indians not taxed, because we were not in that system, that federal system, that civil system that treated us anything but civilly. So when we hear Dane Calloway talk about the 13%, I think we need to listen and start thinking of your sovereignty. Dane is saying he is given every evidence that he understands that we need to have a separate system. Once again, once our people see what we're doing, they will run out of the federal system. Now, the federal system will give them some temporary privileges and benefits to try to make them stay. Like, for instance, the reparations conversation. It is dire that these charlatans cook you up some money to keep you in their system. Take that money and they just might want to send you to Africa. or you will never have birthrights in America, ever. They have to go into high gear now. Now they have to make this look legit. It's still not legit, simply because you're not African. And most of us cannot prove that we came here on slave ships. This will be very interesting. This will be very interesting to see how they prove that you're African. Now, mind you, every few years, there's a wonderful slave movie that says you're African. But to get these reparations, they want you to prove. So why do they need you to prove that you're African? And why will they accept anything you bring? Because that is exactly what they want you to do. Why do they want you to prove first, although they drum it in your head every year that you're a slave from Africa? They seem to have proof, right? They don't. That is how you common sense that side. If they had the proof, they wouldn't need you to show it, right? They wouldn't need you to prove you're African, but they need you. The reason why they do need you to do that is so the karma doesn't fall on them. It will be you. Karmically, you are the one that's constant, that they need to say. And bring any proof you can, and I bet they will accept it, even if probably will be flimsy as fuck. But they will still take it because you said it. Um, they again are going into high gear. They did a little experiment in California, see how the Negroes respond before we bring it to New York. The little psyop was in California. Let's see how these Negroes respond to that. What Indians are going to get as quote unquote reparation is the authority in America. That is more valuable than anything. How do we know it? Because the colonizer has still not left America. They have still not left our land. Why? Because there's something here worth staying here for. Africans were never denationalized. Only American Indians were. We the ones that have how many misnomers? Colored. We went from copper colored, which you're not supposed to know, to colored, to Negro, to black, African. That's five so far. Mulatto is in there too, but it's mulatto is sort of like, you know, people in Africa don't have that many misnomers, if any. They they don't go by landless identities, because nobody wants their land. Sorry, was I not supposed to say that? Well, don't get mad at me. Look at the surveys. You Africans that are making videos with standing in front of a cornfield, corn comes from America, showing off our corn that we created. Corn was created in America by American Indians. It's the first state I want to say the first safe GMO. The new GMOs, not so much, because they're still trying to. GMOs don't have to be. I don't think they have to be lethal, but when you're trying to the American Indian, you put a little pesticide, just a little bit over time, slow down. We don't want to raise no eyebrows. Kill them soft. Um, so when you Africans, I say this respectfully, seriously. I know it's not the little man, not the little man. It's the government system that is punking your African ass. So don't get mad at us with your little videos. Okay, we might say some things, right? Well, you got to understand, as my brother, if you're my brother, you must understand what we've been putting up with. We have no reason to trust you. We truly don't. So if we are a little bit harsh, sorry. We're not the ones that said you're the poorest country in the world. Don't now that would more be your, I won't say who is putting out your laundry, but don't think that Americans are putting that out. As you know, we don't have any power right now in our own country. We are the lowest on the caste system hierarchy, right? That was the We have civil rights in a country that has a whole constitution. We have civil rights. In other words, we have alienable benefits and privileges. I shouldn't even call them rights. So you Africans that are, putting out these little kind of snooty little videos where you're comparing nature to a place like America, right? Like y'all are like in nature and all of that, right? We have nature over here. Stop it now. Stop it. We have fruits and vegetables and all that stuff in nature, right? Yeah, so it's just these little subtle jabs, that you see coming from some African that I've seen. Okay. But again, it is not the African, or what you would call African American. We're not African American. It's not the American Indians that are putting out the propaganda that's saying you're the poorest country in the world. That's not us. So don't get mad at us for saying you're poor. We're just telling the truth. That's what you need to stand up and tell us that it's a lie. But if you're going to start telling the truth, you also got to start telling the world that we're not you and you're not us. And then maybe we'll trust you. Until then, y'all keeping this lie going? Mm-mm, mm-mm, mm-mm. That would count you as an enemy to American Indians. We're not saying we're better. We deserve better. And any people that look like us and are pushing that bullshit narrative that we are from Africa, they are our enemies. More than any Caucasian. I'm convinced that Caucasians are not the enemy. They come to the party much too late. The scripts were already written by the time the white man arrived. He was just given a script, just like we were once we were colonized. We were given our script. You're from Africa. Any questions? We were terrorized into being African. And I don't feel personally that Africa has done enough to reverse that lie. That's me personally. But as I always say again, I know that the little people don't have anything to do with that. Just like the little people. American Indians right now are the little people in America. No one respects us. We're shown shot and choked out, by authorities. Let's show the world that we are, have no human value. Well, human is not the best word, right? We have no uh, what's the word? Value. We have no value. That's the word. We have no value in our own land. Why? Because we're being occupied by a foreign entity whose mission it is to eat. What's the kill the Indian, save the man? Is that it? So gut us as Indians and then watch our empty carcasses try to live in a world where everyone else has their their nationality except us. Why is that done, people? Why do you think that's done? Because the resources are here. The resources are in America. The legacy is in America. The throne began in America. Civilization began in America. We are peaceful, loving Indians. We don't advocate violence. We don't have to. We have a whole birthright. Ain't nobody we need to fight. This is our land. And if you want to stay, you have to pay. It's business. It's not personal. It's business. You want to build your great corporations, or we need to revamp their corporations. We have to make some code of ethics up in this place at some point. Roughly speaking, we don't want any corporate entity that requires that you waive your constitutional rights. Now, we're not party to the Constitution, but we did help draft it. Even though those were our traitor Indians, it works for immigrants. It does not work for Indians because it puts us in a secondary place when we should be in a primary place on our land. So in the American Indian version of America, not the British or the Vatican version, the Constitution will be honored at all times. The 1787 Continental Constitution. What does that mean? None of these corporations will be allowed to contract us outside of our own Constitution. That has to stop. In order for a corporation to thrive on our land mass, they will need to be constitutional. That also means that Congress, as long as they exist on this landmass, you will go back to your 19 enumerated functions, and that's it. We didn't ask you to do our school systems. We can teach. We can teach the true history. So, in the American Indian version of America, no more of those shenanigans, no more of Congress having what? Plenary authority. What? You only have the authority that we Americans give you. You don't give yourself any authority on this amendment. That is not what we contracted you to do. We can learn a lot from the state nationals. I'm telling y'all Indians right now. Those of us who are interested in our birthright will want to learn. That, that it's just that simple. No tea, no shade, as they say. It is all pointless if we create a system with the corporation where they refer to us as Indians, but we have no birthright authority. You are wasting your time. You are misleading yourself and many others with that narrative. We cannot settle for a secondary position on our land. That's not what the ancestors died for. That is never what they wanted, as far as I'm concerned. This was all smoke and mirrors, deception, chicanery, and they didn't even go by their own definition or their own elements of what constitutes a legal, lawful contract. No full disclosure, no meeting of minds. The contract is void. All those contracts are void. Even if you signed and you didn't know what you were signing, and no, your birthright will always be your birthright. It will always be yours rightfully. Because if we set a precedent where people's birthrights can be just willy-nilly not theirs anymore, then no one on the earth will ever have their birthright. This is the ultimate issue with playing with people's birthrights. We might say this only happened in America, but if it becomes the norm, it'll happen everywhere. So I think I'm done. Just want to always keep talking about our sovereignty. Conversation that I think we should talk about every day until Indians understand. It takes a relearning. We out there who teach, you cannot teach one time years ago and think that the job is done. It's just we I'm realizing we don't know what sovereignty is and we don't know what we're entitled to. And if you don't know what you're entitled, how are you going to get there? You know? So we, I feel we as Indians can advocate for a peaceful transition because we're still very new to this. We don't need to be fighting. We don't need to try to have a very savvy corporation have us falling into their pitfalls. So we remind them we're doing this peacefully. What we're doing, we're exiting your system. We're exiting the fictional world. We're going back to the land because it's ours. We don't need to be in a sea jurisdiction of commerce or under admiralty law. Your courts they don't have the jurisdiction to even have us sit on a jury there, really. But I do think, again, Indians should monitor any entity that's here. We would have the right to ensure that they are going by the Constitution. Um, I think we need to curtail the commerce authority that we've given Congress. That's just my opinion. Because I think somehow the way the Constitution was designed, it could be interpreted to make everything fall under the umbrella of commerce, and everything should not be pulled into a commerce or sea jurisdiction. Not everything. Everything is not commerce. Someone getting in their car to go to the store or go visit friends or family, there's no reason they need a license to do that. A license is for when you're conducting business, right? Yeah, yeah. Because when you're a free person in America, you don't need a license. It's assumed that you have unalienable rights, as well, particularly Indians as well, to travel our land without any need for a license. But for the Indians, even our commerce will not be. It will. It won't fall under the feds. They won't have it. And if somehow it is seen that it it should we should be in charge of our commerce. I'll put you that, not a foreign. That's like putting somebody in charge of selling your goods. How can you trust that they're going to give you the proceeds? How do you trust that they're not pocketing, sticking on some tax or something and taking that? So I do honestly think that Indians' commerce has nothing to do with a foreign entity on our land. I just don't. I don't see it. Some might say, yeah, they've shown us very bad faith. But that's why I'm saying this. You don't do business with someone you can't trust. And Indians have no reason to trust, but truly no Americans, no, even the foreigners have no reason to trust this entity. They really have to be curtailed in a peaceful manner by people who have the authority to do it. That would be the American Indians. We must have say on our land mass. Do not have any representative that is not true to keeping the birthright of Americans as American, keeping the birthright of America for Americans, particularly American Indians. I don't think that Indians should sell their land ever. You can lease it, and that's about it. You can rent it out. You don't sell your land. It's not for sale. This is the only place where you're going to have sovereignty, American Indian. You give it away, you no longer have it, right? You get into the habit of selling foreigners your land, and soon you won't have any. So there should be land that is off limits, and then there should be land that is up for rent or what's the other one? Lease, long-term lease. It has to go back to the Indians. This is how I really feel. We have gone way too long without our land. We don't need to get jiggy with our land. These people have homelands. They can own land there. The reason why you don't give away your land is because it's for your generations to come. They don't have anywhere else to go. Foreigners do. Americans don't. They have tried to make America a free-for-all. But in that, they have to get rid of us, right? That's what the whole plan was. So in order to reverse all of that, we must think in terms of keeping our land for our progeny forever, because that is the word that Mr. King James thought applied to him taking our land. We have to want it forever so that thieves don't get crazy ideas that it's theirs forever. No, King James' inheritance is in the places where he was known to be king or viewed as king. Scotland, England, Ireland, Wales. He can say that is his forever land, not America. Again, what are we Indians supposed to do? Go take your land? We're not doing that. We don't want your land. We got plenty of it here. And this might burn some people up. But you must be a colonizer then. Sorry, the Pope denounced the Doctrine of Discovery. That's why I can talk like this. Okay? Because that which was taken has to be returned. We Indians better get a clue. You're going to be here a long time. You can be here as a slave, or you can be here as the owner of the land that you are. If you want to play nice with the corporation, then you must think that they're going to be here forever. And that means you have no clue about taking your birthright back, nor you have any idea that they have another birthright to tend to in their homeland. Why do you want to give them more? Are we taking anything in their land? Well, I know we American Indians are not. You know, they would like us to go to Africa. Yeah, because that's their third world little dumping ground that they don't have no need for. They don't need Africa anymore. America is a constant craving type of thing. Well, you're going to have to crave something else. Injustice was never meant to be the final word. So, thank you for watching. Just checking in while I'm on vacation. I think this video will work. I've done so many videos that I'm not posted. But I think this is good. Thank you for watching. Uh Shout out to Algonquians. You folks, you Indians that were in the Northeast woodland areas of South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, and up the coast. We Algonquins need to start looking either for, we could look at the treaty that we made just to see, I think they should be void, but for the purposes of identifying us and what our position is, we do need to revisit those. But again, in the America that the American Indians run, we won't need any treaties. It'll be understood that this is our land. We won't. Treaties is what your conqueror gives you to appear that they're making nice with you and giving you something of value, and they're not. They are limiting you. They don't intend to keep those treaties, and they don't have to because they created them. The name of the game in the corporate world is if a corporation creates it, they can rescind it. If you were under duress to sign it, the reason why you were under duress in the first place is because they're going to trash that document. They're going to trash it. That's why the treaties were just, they were like, we got your stupid ass to sign these stupid pieces of paper. We don't even go by treaties anymore. Little by little, you see how we were just nothing. It's like we were on quicksand. They would tell us it was solid ground. We'd step on it. We'd start sinking, and they would sit there and watch you drown in quicksand. But the Indians are still here. We'll always be here. Will we be here ignorant, or will we be here fully conscious that this is our land? I'll do, before I close, just a quick overview of what my research and my understanding via the ancestors worked with me. They work with us, on individual basis, apparently, which is so. My general overview, according to what I studied, is that America was the first civilization. What we know of as Egypt was founded by Americans who are now called American India, which is us. Back then, we were Timerian. Horace Butler does a decent job at showing us, explaining it. I think he could do more to show us, but he does explain it. And I think the reason why he was given that mission is because he is still trying to, they have to put the truth out, but if they mix it in with a lie, they can still say that they told the truth. So Horace Butler would like us to believe that Africans left Africa when it was undeveloped, swam for America, though they didn't know it was here, because they didn't. Remember, we're the New World. So they took this horrific trip on the ocean to build a civilization in America that they didn't have in Africa. That's rich, isn't it? Who does that, though? No one. No one does that. This is the lie we are told, so that Africa can take ownership of our birthright. That is why this lie is told. But it does not stand the test of common sense. If we're the New World, that means you didn't know that we were here. So what would make you come through a whole ocean to build your civilization here, and you don't even own it? It's then said to be in, and then the next question after that to Africa is, if it is as we are being told, which it's not, then why didn't you tell the world about America? The onus would have been on Africans to show Columbus or whoever, Spanish, that we were not the New World. See, that's how Africa is implicated. Sorry. So somebody had to know about us. and somebody didn't say anything about us, it would have had to have been Africa because that's who they're saying came here first. Yeah, because Horace Butler, again, this is Horace Butler. He's bringing us truth, but he's cloaking it in a lie and hoping that we fall for it. But then he'll still be able to say, but I told the truth. But you mixed it with a lie, Mr. Butler. You're hoping that you can tell a twisted story and it will still be an African originating story. It is not Horace Butler. I don't know any other way to say it, but it's not what happened, Horace Butler. We were here. That's what you're trying to say. Let me help you. American Indians were here before any African or European or Spanish or Mongoloid came here. All of those that came here by way of the Moors, the Black Moors, the African Moors. Again, Africa. That's why Africa is implicated. Because if she's the oldest thing, as she says, or allows people to say about her, then it would have been her teaching the world, right? And if, as Horace Butler says, Africa built their Egypt in America, why didn't you tell the world that, Africa? Horace Butler is telling us this, but you don't say anything, do you? This is why people want to know why you got an attitude about Africa. You keep talking about Africa. Because I have common sense. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you don't have common sense. I'm sorry. It's a gift from my mother. So that's why I have an issue with the authorities in Africa, the historians, the spiritual teachers of the monotheistic religions. They know better, even if the people don't. They would know better. The ones that got the Pope kissing their feet. Those are the people I'm talking about. Now the Pope don't go kissing the little boy or girl with the big belly and the flies flying around their mouth and their eyes. The Pope don't kiss those feet. So I'm talking about the people in Africa who get their feet kissed by the Pope. The one who had to denounce the Doctrine of Discovery is kissing Africans' feet, officials. I'm just saying. We American Indians, I don't advocate violence. If somebody's getting violent vibes from this, you're mistaken. Why don't I advocate violence? Because I know legally we don't need it. I know lawfully we don't need it. I also don't advocate attacking white people. We don't have to attack the Mongolians, really. They're not, I don't see them coming for us. They, all of that is just going to fall to the wayside when we bring the heat of truth, okay? Um, but yeah, again, I don't I don't advocate anti-Semitism. Why? Because they're not the problem. It would have been the Blackamoors. They're the ones that were the seafarers and all of that and lied, saying America was the new world. It's the priesthood, the high priesthood, not the low levels of any of these races, be it Hebrew, Jews, uh, Mongolians, African, Spanish. So yeah, that's why we don't need any violence. We just need to stand in our birthright. That's the great gift that the ancestors gave me. I'm like, you show me how to be sovereign. Ain't nothing to show you. There's absolutely nothing to look in the mirror. Ancestors like look in the damn mirror. That's your sovereignty. Okay. That's your sovereignty. Okay. We done told you who you are. Look in the mirror. That's your sovereignty. I don't identify as African. That's the only reason why I did fill out the census, but it was my little let the corporation know. Yeah, yeah. I want to let them know that I know. That's why I wear my feathers. We went out today and I had my feathers. I wear my feathers at work. Um, I think that's why the ancestors are somewhat uh partial to me. I don't make light of it. I really don't. The reason why I wear my feathers is because I want the world, the knowing world, that a lot of people don't know. I want them to know that I am not one of these Negroes that the authorities can just run up on me and assume that I'm from Africa. No, as you see, I got these feathers and stuff. And right now, I do use my state national ID, but I'm developing my status as American Indian. See, there's no paperwork. That's why. So I in the beginning I didn't know that that really, the paperwork is me knowing who I am. Basically, and making a video like this is a public announcement. It's a public announcement to declare that I identify as the first one of the first people of the copper colored race that was found here. I'm descended from the 1828 definition of what an American is. I don't use the word Aboriginal because it's a word spell. What do you mean it's a word spell? To me, this is how I see it. I common sense it. Original means original. Aboriginal does not mean original because if it did, it would be original. I did a video on this already, so I shouldn't have to explain it. But yeah, ab is a word spell. Ab has multiple meanings, and you don't want multi-purpose words, particularly with the English language, I think. You don't want multi-purpose words like more, that means everything, Mauritania, Morocco, move, Amaru, and it just means so many. Like, who's going to take the time to explain the version that I'm referring to? I don't want to be all things because I'm just an American Indian. So I don't want to be associated with Morocco. I don't want to be associated with Mu. I don't want to be associated with Mauritania. Nah, nah, nah. Truly, I personally feel it's Tom Murray. I feel Tom Murray is the original. But in the video on the timeline, America's an older civilization than Africa. It explains with Horace Butler's mouth because we're using his information, but we revamping it to make the sense that he can't make it make because he's Boule. Now I'm alleging that, but his his rhetoric is what gives me that clue because even though he's telling us America is the oldest civilization, he's still making that leap to say that Africans left a barren, undeveloped Africa. I'm sorry, Africans left a broken, undeveloped, chaotic Africa to build their first civilization in America. And I'm telling you right now, that is A1 bullshit. No one does that. Not in the real world. You have to build up home first to show that the culture that you built in America is African. The reason you can't do that is because it's not African. But the reason you would do it would be to show that, yeah, we were here, we were here. But you didn't have anything built in Africa when Egypt had two kingdoms in 3400 BCE. There was nothing in Africa. There was nothing in Africa. Okay, well, if you want to go with Darwin, we will say there was a Sasquatch being there. Okay, if you need the out of Africa there. But there was nothing in the ballpark of civilization in Africa. It's just the facts. This is not a diss to Africa. Everybody starts out somewhere. But what you're not going to do is take my starting point and say it was yours. That's what you're not going to do. And I will be very sarcastic, very sassy. I don't know the word. It's not going to be pretty when I read you for doing that. It's not going to be pretty. So don't do it. That's all we say. Don't take my birthright. That's all I ask. Because you'll be, you know, up for up for a good read, a good reading. I'm gonna rake you through you ain't taking my birthright. I will have my land. I'm having my land back. I am having my land back. If that makes somebody feel some kind of way, go home and maybe then you'll understand. If you go home and get in touch with your ancestors, then you will understand why I want my land back. And I'm not going to settle for any benefits and privileges or any amount of money in place of my land because I will make money from my land. I will. That's how I'll make my money. We got a whole foreign corporation doing it. And the thing is with American Indians, if we do have, let's say, a tax system amongst ourselves, it's not going to be like this bullshit we got now, okay, with the corporation. It's not going to be like that. So don't be afraid if our people want us to start contributing. It would probably be just to get us started in our own business and our own. We have a whole lot of resources. No reason why we shouldn't make money off of those resources. Now, we're not going to take advantage of people. If you're a third world country, you ain't going to pay the same amount that a rich country is going to pay for our goods and services. For those Indians who don't want to work a farm, you might want to consider sharing the profits of that farm with someone who will work it for you until you want to get your hands dirty or whatever. We need to teach farming and make money from that. Or, people maybe come here and learn to farm and go back home and farm. or something, you know? This is just the way we need to be thinking, though. We have monarchs and certain church organizations that have made these kind of plans on for our land, for their progeny, and for their bag, and for their bank accounts, right? So we have to start thinking like this. How do we make money having the richest one of the richest land masses on earth? How do we profit from that? And should we? Yes, we should. Like again, we're not going to rape people to pay us, but we will get paid. We will get some kind of rent going on, some kind of leasing money going on. You know, that's just the way, you know, the colonizer don't like this kind of talk. They don't. But what do you think was going to happen? Again, injustice ain't meant to last. You can't condemn a people, especially when the Pope denounced the Doctrine of Discovery. You no longer can condemn us as even heathen, because that's what the doctrine of discovery was all about, making us heathen. So on that note, I didn't want it to be a very long video, but it's been a while. Maybe I was due for a lengthy one. It's a little over an hour. So maybe we'll leave it at that, like an hour and 20 minutes. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. I want to shout out to Phoebe and Tom. I think that's his name. Love your videos. You guys rock. Phoebe always looking good. Tom looking debonair. Uh, Shout out to Re-Educated TV for educating me. He did a second video on the Mongolian Empire, Mongols in America. I didn't watch the whole thing, but he did that within the last few months. Now, his first video was about 9 months ago, I think, when I looked. And that's the video I was mirroring. Re-Educated TV, brother. Whoa. Shout out to Kalinago, Chief Kalinago. I just want to shout out some people that I listen to that I find I get something. I don't always agree with everything that everybody says, but from these key people, I think Kalinago, I like that he's willing to deal with religion as an Indian should. That's what I most appreciate. I don't agree with everything he says, but I do like that he is unafraid to attack a spiritual system that has attacked us. And in that, he's a spiritual brother to me in that way, because I will be right there next to him saying basically the same thing. A lot of Indians are not ready for that level. But an Indian like me, let me at it. Let me at that religion. Let me at, you know, it's all verbal. It's not physical. Shout out to, of course, Dane Calloway. Uh, because that's the 13%, and he's advocating our own government, and that's the only way to do this. Any other way, you're fooling yourself. We can't work with the corporations. We can't. I'm sorry. I thought about it. I've been grappling with this for a long time. We done with the corporation. All the abuses they heaped on us. What? You done with the corporation, y'all. Done. 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 So, Vivian, I think his name's Tom. Vivian Tom. Chief Carmine. Uh, Dane Cow. There's another one. Re-Educated TV. So Phoebe and Tom, their website is Real Talk. You want to look them up. Indigenous education, that's the fifth one. Indigenous education with Red Silver Fox and her son. I really enjoy them. I really appreciate them. And ancestors shine with you. Uh, I just enjoy the dynamic of what they're doing. And her son, I don't remember his name. She's uh red red silver fox. And her son, I forgot what he calls himself. But he also, I could hear him saying that, indicating that we need our own system and that the one that's here, we were never supposed to be part of. That's why I thought about, running for Congress and being a part of Congress, but they don't work for us. They, we can have, no, okay, roughly, without validating this, perhaps we should have Indians overseeing them as long as they remain here. My thing is, I don't know if they should even be here, to be honest with you, because they're not serving us. I don't know how do you, if an entity that willfully chose to not serve us and everything they built was designed so that they can ease out of the original Constitution. I don't see how we could coddle that. We would have to clean house. People would have to resign, and we need a whole retrain. They think that they have more than 19 enumerated functions. They've been lied to. So I don't know if we can work with the corporation. I don't advocate violence. We're peaceful Indians. Partly because they've done everything to disarm us. But we remain peaceful. We don't need to resort to violence because we have a birthright that we just need to stand on and create something that serves us. The minute it doesn't serve us, it's a done deal. You're out. You're out. Do not think you're going to do what the corporation, even if you're Indians. Just don't do it. That's all I'm saying. Um, so why I don't think we should run for Congress and all of that is because we would be only overseers. We could only be there to watch, make sure that there's no shenanigans going on. That's the only reason. And we'd have every right to because they're on our land. Uh, I don't think we should join and be part of the federal system as it exists today because we were never supposed to be part of it. That's what I've concluded. It wasn't in the forefathers' plan that we join or that we had, even if we were, like I said, to oversee the workings of that system for the duration of it being on existing on our land. It doesn't mean that it had authority over us. So we would be getting into the federal corporation would mean you're not serving Indians because that system is not for Indians. That's what I'm trying to say. So that's why I've decided, at least for me, I can't say, oh, let's just run for senator. No. They've been at this so long that they don't know what they were contracted to. They no longer know what their enumerated functions were. So they get in there and it's just we don't need to. We need to start from scratch because it has to be specifically geared at sovereign Indians, whereas the corporation is for more for immigrants. That's how I see it. Somebody knows better, feel free to share. But yeah, we need our own system. That finally got it. And that's why I've been trying to really state in my video. And I think this one will work. I think so. I think that's all I have to say. To get those wheels spinning and our mind thinking along those lines. I have 3 cardinal signs in my chart. No, 3 uh placements that are cardinal. So I think this is why I could probably, at least set a tone that, can be useful. You know, the ideas planted. I do this humbly and in service of the ancestors. I think I'm gonna leave it at that. uh, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this little relaxing mood we have here. Yes, it's late at night, so I just finished watching a decent movie called yeah, this bed is those one of those big soft beds, but it's got a firmness to it. No, I'm not going to talk about it. It was a good movie. It was a good movie. I don't want to, you know, distract. I think that's it. Till next time. I just want to check in and, talk about this. Thank you for watching. Wish you peace, health, wealth, joy, love, your land back, your identity back, uh, and all the great things. Thank you for watching. Till next time.